Hey ladies, another day, another podcast. Okay, this is the Mom is in Control podcast, and I am your host, Heather Chauvin. And today's episode, we have a special guest. His name?
Logan.
What's your name?
Logan.
Logan Chauvin, who is not taking this very serious. All right, so I get a lot of questions from you ladies talking about raising teenagers. Logan, how old are you?
I'm 14.
14 years old. So I thought, what better way than to ask him these questions myself? So here we are, sitting in a car together. I bribed him that if he wanted some new shoes, he had to do a podcast with me, didn't I?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Logan, rapid fire question, Q&A, okay?
Yes. Okay, I'm ready.
First question. Honestly, what does it feel like to be a 14-year-old boy today?
It's challenging because all your friends are taking different paths, and there's a lot of different choices to take, a lot of different ways to go, follow this friend or that friend, and some friends make bad decisions, and you have to let go of them.
Awesome. So you're in this transition period. Do you feel like developmentally it's your last year in grade school? We don't have middle school here. It's your last year in grade school, and then you jump into high school. Are you nervous about that?
Yeah, I'm nervous, but I was lucky enough to get to go in a kind of middle school program, so I'm involved in the high school, so I kind of get a fresh, a little, preview of high school, and I kind of know how it works, and I think it helps me situate myself better.
Yeah, so you can kind of get a head start into the the little fish in a big pond. Sure. Let's talk about, okay, so you and I, we talk a lot. Mm-hmm. We have one-on-ones a lot. And I wanted to ask you, what does it mean? So I get a lot of questions from parents, especially parents of teenagers that say, how do I get my teen to listen to me? How do I get my teen to respect me? And I know you have a perspective on this. What is it?
I think a perspective is, you should still set boundaries, if you have to ground them or take their stuff away. It's good to set boundaries, but it's also, there's a difference between having, a good sit-down conversation with them and, being one-on-one, real to each other, really communicating, and then just yelling at them and taking their stuff away, because there's a difference from them backlash it. You'll get more of a reaction if you just yell at them, but you get closer with your children if you have a one-on-one conversation with them, and they understand from your perspective and you understand from their perspective, because you're not just yelling at them, and you're actually understanding them. And from experience, high school, it's different. You're noticing changes and stuff.
So so you said to me, let's talk about the whole yelling thing and punishing. So as you grow, you have to change. So you have two younger brothers, 9 and 6, right? It's not like you're all teenagers. You're all parented very differently, and I know sometimes that bothers you. Mm-hmm. But you said something to me because we were prepping for this short interview, and you said something to me about, I said, well, how do you get your kids out of their room? Or, what do you say to your child when they're always on their cell phone or they're always playing video games? And you made a really good point about spending time with your teen.
So it's sort of like what I was talking about on the first time I talked. Like I said, there's a difference between just storming in there, taking their Xbox for a week, and then they just avoid you and don't talk to you for that period of time, and then as soon as they get it back, they're just constantly on it and they don't learn anything from it. But the whole point is just like it's your like it's however you choose to do it. But the point is like if you actually have like a one-on-one conversation with them, calm, not like in a
not
furious,
not reacting and not angry.
Yeah.
So what did you said something to me about spending time with your teens, that as your children get older, parents typically spend less and less one-on-one time with their teenagers.
Yeah, so me growing up with two younger brothers, they get more attention than me. And most of the time it's okay, but as much as some teens don't want to admit it, they would, like, they don't want to admit it, but they want some attention as well. It's just because they feel like their parents just, like, they're not, like, they have to focus on the two other younger brothers or how many other younger siblings there are. But sometimes they don't want to admit it, but they just want the loving attention.
And so what does loving attention look like? Because honestly, this is, like, part of me knew this already, but this is a little bit of an aha moment for me, realizing that this matters, because younger children, will scream and have tantrums, and some children are more needy than others. And so as you grow and you become more independent and being able to take care of yourself, I think we as parents forget that you still need us. So what is it that you honestly want from me and Dad now at your age?
Just somebody to talk to, somebody to relate to, because we all know that parents went through the similar phases. Like, they were your age at once, and they went through the similar...
But I was perfect.
They went through the similar phases, so they just want somebody to talk to, and sometimes talking to somebody, like, that they don't know, like maybe a therapist or something, I don't know. But it's just, it gives them... Are
you saying talking to a therapist would be different? Or, like, they need that parent?
Just, like, somebody to, like, talk to, like, because, like, just to be comfortable around, and you can talk to them about things, and you're, like, comfortable like, you're probably comfortable more talking to, like, a family member about, like, high school than, like, per se, like, a stranger that you pay, or, like, your best friend, because sometimes stuff gets out. So, like, a family member to talk to about high school, because there's always something going on, and there's always something to talk about, because, like, whether it's bullying or just all the peer pressure and stuff, whatever.
So what you're saying is you're looking for someone that you can just have those conversations with, to share how to be comfortable and to share how you feel. Awesome. And I know sometimes you want to have these conversations with me, and I'm like, I just don't have the energy for it. But then I'll circle back around. A few podcasts ago, I talked about, like, a few things that you said that I do differently than other parents. And I'm definitely by no means perfect. And I'll just say it here. As women and parents and moms, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves that we're not doing enough. And I said to you, honest, open feedback. What could I do better as a mom? What is your perspective on that when I put so much pressure on myself to be like, I'm not enough, I have to do more for you and your brothers? What do you think about that?
Is that, like, in general, moms, or?
Yeah, this is how women feel.
It's a lot of the same stuff, like, just, like, giving your children, like, the conversation. I don't know how.
But do you think I do enough for you, or do you think I have to do more for you? Like, what is it that you really think children require from their parents? Like, does it make a difference if you have all the toys and that, like, not toys because you're past toys, but, like, all the clothes, and that you attend to every activity? Like, if a parent had to do one thing really, really good and master that skill, what is that one skill? And I think you've already said it.
Talking to, like, just having conversations, being comfortable, and, like, talking, like, openly, not, and, like, just being more, I know this is kind of like a teenage word, but, like, chill. If, like, it just, like,
define that for me. Like, what does it mean to be more chill?
like just not so, oh, you did this, like, oh, I'm gonna like get mad at you for that, like, oh, you drank some alcohol, I'm gonna get mad at you for that, or like just because we all know that people like do things, they don't matter like how good like of a person you are, people do things, and whether it's high school or whatever, and it's just not like when you can tell your mom or dad that you did this, and them being like, yeah, I went to a similar phase, and then it's just like more comforting for you, because then you're like, oh, I'm not, in a sense, like it's like, oh, I'm not alone, but it's also like, well, my parents understand me.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit, I know we could talk forever and ever, but we talked a little bit about, I mean, this isn't really a podcast about punishment and consequences and boundaries, but there was something, do you want to talk about it, that you did that you regret? Do you want to talk about it?
Sure.
Okay. So you already told me you would talk about this, but I think this is just very brave and courageous of you. So tell the story of what happened, but then I also want you to first tell the story, and then we'll talk about boundaries and discipline and natural consequences and things like that. So what happened? This was about a year ago, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, tell the story.
So I got into 7th grade and I was in the middle school program, so I was in the high school, and I was with like a lot of 9th graders, and I seen it, and I got involved in vaping, and I got in trouble. And what really part of like what I'm talking with my mom about in this podcast is how just being calm when you're talking to your kids, because a good example is when my dad found out I left for Halloween, and on the ride back he went, like, he drove slow, he took the back road so we could really talk, he pulled over, and we just had like a good one-on-one conversation. He wasn't yelling at me, and I was like really terrified because like I've never been in like that much trouble before, and like I thought I was gonna get like, I was so scared that I was gonna get in so much trouble, and I did get in trouble, but the way he did it was he was just like calm, and he wasn't like yelling, and it was just it was very like I was scared, but like he kept me like not from like losing like my crap, because I was like, oh yeah, like.
And do you find, because you've already said this, but if you're already scared that you did something you know you weren't supposed to do, and then to have me or dad just scream and yell at you is just you're gonna clam up, you're gonna shut down, and you're not gonna talk to us. So let's talk about boundaries and consequences. So what happened after that your consequence?
I lost a lot of trust, and that trust had to build up, and honestly, I'd say maybe now there's still some trust missing there, and I wish I could go back and just change that, because that affected like a lot of what I did, and I missed out on a lot because of consequences, because I didn't have that trust, and I wish I made a better decision. And it's just all about trust, because when your parents trust you, like, I don't like making my parents mad at me anymore, because I hate losing the trust that they've put in me, because every time, like, not every time, but like when I do something that I'm not supposed to do, I just lose that trust, and I feel like crap after, because all that, like, I respect you guys, and I just like lost all that respect.
So what do you say? So I'll wrap it up. What do you say to that parent who is really frustrated with their kid, their teenager, and they feel like a complete disconnect? So I always say that parenting, like me and you, every child, is a relationship, right? And if you want to have a healthy relationship with anybody, you have to invest in that relationship. You have to invest time in that relationship. You have to invest energy into that relationship. And that could be something as simple as going for a walk together or going for a car ride together. You don't necessarily have to buy your child all of these things to have a good relationship. So, but oftentimes, you know, not everyone can get through to their kids. What do you say to that parent that's watching their child really struggle. Like maybe their child's struggling with their mental health, and maybe they are on their phone all the time. Maybe they are playing video games. Maybe they feel very disconnected. Maybe they're getting lots of calls from the school and the parent feels helpless and they've tried everything and the child just won't connect to them. How do you have some suggestions for this parent on maybe how they can start to actually gain the child's trust back?
It's sort of from the topic that I've been saying all along about how just having a conversation with your kid, like a one-on-one conversation. It's the same topic I've been talking about the entire podcast. It's just when you're more calm and you guys are having like a one-on-one conversation, you just you feel more like safe and like confident.
And you might have to have multiple conversations with your kid, not just one conversation, because if you've lost the trust and the respect from your child, you're not going to get it back in one conversation, right?
Yeah. And I think I wouldn't be too pushy with the conversations, but maybe at night just go in their room or just be calm and not don't bring up anything that's stressing them. For example, if it's school, don't be like, did you do your homework? Obviously you want to remind them to do their homework, but you don't want to go in their room and then just remind them of all the stuff that they have to do or stuff like that. But
so it's to ask them questions, engage in conversations with your kids that are not heated topics. Mm-hmm. So things that maybe they enjoy or something else that doesn't stress them out.
Something they enjoy at school, or just have a conversation with them and not a topic, nothing that's stressing them out.
Awesome. Any other quick suggestions before we wrap it up?
Not really. My main thing is that has helped me out a lot with you guys is just having real conversations and stuff.
So do you think parents need to have real conversations?
Yes.
Is that the theme of this podcast? Have real conversations with your kids.
Sure.
And do whatever you need to do to say it in a calm demeanor. And
not too pushy.
Don't be pushy. What else to wrap it up?
Check-ins.
Check-ins, and don't always talk about things that stress out the kid. And yeah, that's it. Keep it simple.
Yep.
Awesome. Be honest, how often do we get in heated conversations?
Maybe once a day.
Once a day?
But that's just me being dramatic, or just honestly just arguing over dumb things like homework. But that's normal. That's.
And how do we end our conversations?
Just not apologizing for it and just having conversation. Conversation.
So treat your children like people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to your child the way that you would talk to another adult or colleague.
Yes.
Okay. So I know it's easier said than done. So thank you, Logan, for being a guest on the Mamas in Control podcast. And yeah, that's all I have for you today, ladies. I would love, and I will relay a message to Logan. Any feedback, comments, questions you have, send them to support@heatherchauvin.com, or follow me on Instagram @Mamas in Control and send me your messages there. All right, we'll chat soon.